Hello, I'm Sally. I was born the illegitimate offspring of a crippled 14-year-old Aboriginal girl raped by a white man. I ended up in an Aboriginal mission on the south coast of New South Wales at Bomaderry. From babyhood, my life revolved around prayer, high moral principles, and learning to become a domestic servant for white people. Everything in life was a privilege that had to be earned. So like everyone else, I worked for my keep. Sister Kennedy was my trusted mother figure whose understanding, kindness, firmness and constancy never varied, the quintessential Virgin Mother. Bomaderry was the only home and the only family I knew. By the time of my adoption at 6 years of age, I had the life skills and mental attitudes of a responsible 12-year-old. All that changed after my adoption. This transition from a former status as a left-handed Aboriginal to my new status as a right-handed white person with a different name was overwhelmingly difficult for me, completely cut off from my roots and family. My problems were compounded by colonial beliefs and attitudes of my new white parents, which were the antithesis of everything I'd been taught to honour and obey by my former teachers. Although my adoptive parents were not Catholics, they sent me to the nearby Catholic primary school. The nuns continued to strengthen my belief in the honesty and goodness of Christ and God. Because I was a ward of the state, I couldn't become Catholic until the age of 12, when it was deemed that I could decide for myself. So unlike most people, I remember my baptism. My faith was my rock of ages. It was the only thing standing between me and the spiritual and social damnation being created behind closed doors under my parents' roof. Every day at school, I would pay a visit to the church beside the school. I would kneel in silence before the altar, seeking comfort away from the monstrous lies that were taking root against my will and growing out of control in my mind. This heralded the first stages of bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, all working in tandem with post-traumatic stress disorder. I despised and rejected myself for betraying everything I believed in because I was too small, weak, and terror-stricken to save my soul. My parents' lies burnt through my soul like acid, blinding me mentally and driving me to attempt suicide with unresolved grief. My adoptive mother was deadlier than my adoptive father, driving me beyond endurance with sadism and poisonous lies. She made me a scapegoat for the sexual abuse of my adoptive father, punishing me unrelentingly for sins I never committed, and then rubbing salt into my wounds by forcing me to live a lie and by creating false illusions about me to the public, which were believed. She knew that an adult's word would always be taken on trust and believed over the word of a lying, ungrateful child, resentful of parental authority. There is an ancient proverb that says a lie multiplies 7 times. The reverse of this ancient proverb is equally true. Honesty and goodness multiply 7 times. As human beings, we have the choice to be one or the other, and will be judged accordingly. As Christ said, you cannot serve 2 masters. I cannot compute how many lies I was forced to accept every day under my parents' roof, nor how many lies I told myself based on my parents' lies that multiplied exponentially in my mind. Now I understand why Christ said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." The turning point for me was the day the sisters came to talk with my adoptive mother. I was 10 years old and they could see I was intelligent and had artistic skill, but lacked self-confidence and personal skills. They convinced my adoptive mother to send me every Saturday to an art class. The art teacher, Mr. Thurgott, was from the local state high school and was an amazing art teacher. We were a diverse group of students from ages 9 to 16 years old. He treated each of his students with respect and patience. He never told us how to paint. Rather, every class would begin with an introduction to the masters, their lives and their works. Renoir, Manuel Greco, the Impressionists, Manet, Monet, the huge, rich hues and colours of Van Gogh. And he would set us a project for the morning and he would never lord it over the students. The evaluation was always what he valued and appreciated about the students' artwork, with perhaps a suggestion now and then on a different approach or a technique. Art became my salvation. I would sit in the backyard and completely lose myself as I'd paint the deep indigo blue mountains and the bright azure sky. Throughout my life, art has been one of the means to bridge the two halves of my mind and my soul, my white world and my ancient world of culture, beliefs, land and tradition. It has taken what seems an eternity of years from my days at Bomaderry through childhood and then slowly gaining confidence as an adult to appreciate my God-given talents and abilities. In my artwork, I've drawn on my ancient heritage. This work, Women's Business, reveals a traditional knowledge of bush food sources. The concentric circles surrounded by U-shapes represent women gathered at traditional sites where there is an abundance of bush foods. In Magical Moonlight, I focused on dandelion seed heads. For me, their form and shape enchant me and bring back memories of childhood. Blue is the colour of divinity, heaven, and renewal of life, earth. The final image, Beach Morning Glory, recognises the knowledge of Indigenous bush medicine. This plant is an antihistamine with an anti-inflammatory and antiseptic properties. It's commonly used to treat headache, so simply called the headache vine. Cuts and grazes can also be treated in this way. Bleeding spear wounds were packed with small torn up portions of leaves and covered with a soft bark dressing. At many times, my life has felt like Jesus in the agony in the garden. Throughout my life, my body, my mind, and my soul has been damaged and abused. But through it all, sometimes in spite of it all, I know the Creator's constant love for me. For me, my baptism is a constant reminder of God's amazing grace.